do anything to help Vince McMahon, or Stephanie McMahon, and help, or Triple H especially, and help keep them in power, which is what's at stake here if Undertaker wins. So who are we supposed to cheer for in this WrestleMania match? Because Undertaker's a good guy. We love Undertaker. He's at WrestleMania. It's going to be one of his last. He's only lost once ever. He's 22-1. The only defeat coming to Brock Lesnar a few years ago. So you can't cheer for Shane to become the 22-2 and destroy and take away from what Brock accomplished, beating the streak, take away from what the streak was from the Undertaker. It just makes no sense. But yet, I can't cheer for Undertaker either, because I don't want the Authority and Vince and Stephanie and Triple H to all stay in power. I want Shane to come in and change the show. So it's ridiculous because it's miscast. That's the only problem I have with it. If Undertaker wasn't cast as the goon, the henchman, the bad guy wrestler representing the Authority in this, then it would be fantastic. But because it's Undertaker and because of where his character is at right now, it makes zero sense. It's just utterly stupid, and I can't stand it. But the majority of the WWE universe is gaga over it because their mind just can't even grasp, Shane McMahon versus Undertaker at WrestleMania in Hell in a Cell. Oh my gosh, just, it's okay to use your brain. If you're a wrestling fan, it really is okay. You shouldn't just accept this garbage. Accepting this garbage as good stuff that you want to pay to see is the exact reason why Vince McMahon continues to give us the same formulated crap over and over again that you complain about. But every once in a while, the formula gets it right, which it appears to be based off of the level of interest in this case. And that's why he's able to keep doing it that way. So stop being stupid fans, and that'll help us from getting a bad product as well. So as I said, in the now possible even main event final match of WrestleMania, I think it will be. I think that's their way of getting Triple H versus Roman not to go on last, fearing the backlash, which is likely to come. The stakes are, if Shane wins, he gets control of Monday Night Raw, which basically is WWE as far as we're all supposed to be concerned. If Undertaker wins, then not only do Vince and Steph and Triple H all stay in charge, as the Authority, but Vince then gets the key to a little box that Shane has in his possession, and apparently inside this box we're supposed to wonder its contents, but it is dirt. We are allowed to know that it is all kind of dirt on Vince McMahon that Vince very much wants back in his possession. And that really, I felt, was the key, the one tiny little nugget when they were presenting the storyline of what it really is all about. That Shane is back and he has dirt on Vince that scares Vince very much, and he will do anything to get it back in his possession. That was the real storyline that a smart person was supposed to pull out of that Monday Night Raw skit. Now, speaking of Vince, he ended up having what I felt was the most interesting and possibly the most talked about thing of the whole spot, and that is when he decided towards the end of their skit, he decided to get into Shane's face and give him some intimidating words into the microphone, and he straight up dropped an F-bomb on Monday Night Raw, telling Shane he was going to get an effing beating. And it was, it was very shocking. In fact, a lot of the promo was fairly real. Shane coming on, and through Shane, the WWE acknowledging their poor ratings, their poor fan response, their overall poor quality in their product at the moment. as well as their failures as a business at the moment. So it had a lot of that real Attitude Era type of vibe to it, and I don't know if Vince got caught away in it or what, if it was calculated or just a genuine slip, or who knows. But yeah, Vince straight up dropped an F-bomb into the microphone on Monday Night Raw Live this past Monday. Now, I did not see official word on this, but I saw many rumored news stories that Vince McMahon has thus suspended himself, Vince McMahon, for 90 days, which I can't imagine that staying, considering that WrestleMania is in just 40 days, give or take a day. And he is clearly a big part of a major storyline that they have right now involving the return of his son Shane McMahon. So I can't imagine that being true or that being upheld. I could see him getting a 30-day suspension and then coming back, a week and a half before WrestleMania gets here, or coming back right at WrestleMania. That would be big stuff. I could see that. But or even 60 days where he has to miss WrestleMania and then comes back, it'd be like 2-3 weeks after WrestleMania, and the WWE could be totally different. And, my mistake made this all possible. If I would have been around, blah, 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 who knows? But it definitely won't be the 90 days. If he does suspend himself, whether it be real or storyline or a little bit of both, it will be for 30 days or 60 days. It won't be the 90 days that has been reported so far, in my opinion. So, despite what appears to be a fairly lackluster, mediocre, forgettable WrestleMania match card coming up here in those 40 days from now that I mentioned, the WWE has once again found a way to do a good job of at least re-peak and rekindle our interest in what's going on, and whether we find it entertaining or not, and whether we like it or not, we at least now will be tuned in and watching it, and really that's all they care about. And you can't really blame them. I'm not blaming them. So a lot to keep our eyes on here over the next 40 days in the world of WWE as we approach WrestleMania 32, and we of course will be keeping an eye on that every week here on the show, because it's my show and I do what I want. And also don't miss our second annual WrestleMania preview extravaganza, It'll be our second one, and I say we, not the proverbial we, but I say we because I'll actually have a special co-host in for that show, the one and only WWE guru expert extraordinaire Doug Sanders will be in to help us preview that once again, coming up here in 40 days. And we will have our special top 10 greatest WrestleManias of all time list to share with you on that show that we have been working extremely hard on the last several months, watching countless hours of old WrestleMania footage on WWE Network to give you the most expert, accurate list of the 10 greatest WrestleManias of all time. But again, I don't want to spoil too much, and that's a good month, month to 6 weeks away yet, but something to look forward to. All right, and then our last bit of pro wrestling news before we put balls on fire out: Lucha Underground Season 2, Episode 5, I believe, was on tonight. Well, this being Wednesday as I'm recording it. It was a fantastic episode, as always. The main event was Johnny Mundo versus Cage. Need I say more? It also featured PJ Black versus Jack Evans. It featured King Cuerno in a match. It was a great episode of Lucha Underground, as every single one is. So if you are a wrestling fan, you need to be watching Lucha Underground on the El Rey Network. If you don't have the El Rey Network, you need to contact whoever you pay for TV channels, and you need to find out how they can get that for you. Whatever you got to pay, trust me, if you are a wrestling fan, it is worth it. It is the best wrestling TV production ever, of all time, ever. Okay, so don't miss out any longer. get on the boat, get in the boat, start paddling it. You don't need a life jacket. Heck, you don't even need a swimsuit. Everyone that wants to be on the Lucha Underground party boat is more than welcome. Speaking of party boats, we got a balls juicy a little bit of story coming up here in a few moments from now. Not quite next, but at some point here coming up in the show. We are right around the halfway point, I believe, hopefully, give or take. And I hope you're enjoying it so far. But we must officially put Balls on Fire out. Alright, much better. And now we can move on with the rest of our show. Now, since we're kind of working our way back this week, to the quote-unquote real sports, we'll go from pro wrestling to UFC fighting here to start out the meat portion of our show this week. And there is very big, interesting, fun, exciting news going on in the UFC MMA world if you are a fan of such. And if you're not, what the heck is wrong with you? I mean, seriously, have you watched any of that stuff before? Like, man, you're missing out. But anyway, we got a nice big UFC pay-per-view coming up here in just 2 weeks. This is probably 1 week now here. Well, no, I don't know. I guess I'd have to go do the math. But anyway, it is on March 5th, UFC 196. Now, this was supposed to have a main event featuring a title match between Conor McGregor and Rafael Dos Anjos. Now, just within the last week or so, Dos Anjos had to pull out of the main event, withdraw. You said pull out. Because Dos Anjos broke his foot, which he posted pictures of on Instagram and I believe Twitter as well. Possibly Facebook, but I'm not sure on that one. So the UFC then is left having to figure something out for its main event. This is like the second time in the last 2 or 3 pay-per-view events that this has happened to. They had to change one entirely to make it not a pay-per-view anymore recently when this happened, where both fighters went out of the main event with injury. But so in a wonderful for UFC and wonderful for the fans booking move, UFC President Dana White was able to book a fight for the main event of the upcoming UFC 196 on March 5th of being Conor McGregor, who was supposed to be in the main event anyway, in a non-title fight. He will not be defending any of his titles against Nate Diaz. That's right, we get Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, and the fight will be contested at 170 pounds, which is 2 weight classes up from McGregor's normal fighting weight of 145 pounds. However, it is possible that the scheduled fight McGregor had with Dos Anjos was set for 150 pounds, not 100% confirmed on that. But McGregor assures his fans that the move up weight classes is nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. He will be completely ready and able to beat the poo out of Nate Diaz. However, there's no real way for McGregor to know, because this is his first ever appearance fighting at this weight, whereas Diaz has fought at this weight 4 times before in his career. It's not his preferred weight, but he has fought at this weight 4 times in his career before, to which he has accomplished a 2-2 record. Now, McGregor is riding high, establishing himself as the, or possibly at least the, top male superstars in the UFC, one of the top male superstars for certain. His most recent fight, I'm pretty sure, was his title victory over Jose Aldo. And as far as Nate Diaz goes, his most recent fight was back on December 19th, where he beat Michael Johnson, and that victory came via decision. And yes, McGregor's last appearance was against Jose Aldo, and that, of course, was the famous 13-second first round knockout, which was the fastest finish in UFC title fight history. So yeah, like I said, McGregor riding very high. But the weight could get to him. Like I said, he's never done it before, so he doesn't really know